Paul. Hello, everyone. I am Elisa Owen, and I am a member of REAL. And I want to welcome you this evening to the 12th Real Good News event. I am very glad you were able to join us this evening. I think we have an exciting program and an interesting program that you will appreciate. And so before we get started, we're going to start how we usually start, which is that we get to listen to John Gage from his Big Blue Ball, or his song Big Blue Ball from Defying Gravity. Remember that you can buy and stream his songs on iTunes and Spotify, and follow John on his Facebook page. Paul will post a link to his Facebook page. He is faithful at these Real Good News meetings, and we appreciate his work, and we appreciate his appreciation of ours. So he always opens us up with song. Let's listen to John.
And let's give credit to Rhodey for the video. Rhodey Streeter.
Rhodey Streeter did the video, we'll see. Again, my name is Elisa Owen. I'm a member of REAL. And I appreciate John for reminding us why we're here and the gift that we have in the creation that we enjoy. And we are here because we love that creation and want to learn about how we can protect her. And so I want to, before we get started, recognize our sponsors, Kentucky Interfaith Power and Light. One, the Christian Action Group of St. Paul United Methodist Church is another, and the Renewable Energy Alliance of Louisville is another. Paul comes to us from St. Paul United Methodist Church, and he will be our Zoom operator this evening. He will be running the chat when we get to our question and answer time with our speakers. And Margaret Stewart is here with us, and she is going to introduce to you our speakers for this evening, and we're going to let her give you one more idea of why we're here because of Real and what we are doing here in the city, and then she'll introduce the speakers and we'll be off and running. Margaret?
Thank you, Elisa. Just a quick reminder of our resolution. Well, I call it our resolution. Real, nearly 3 years ago now, I guess, was responsible for getting the Metro 04. Drew, hard to believe it's that long. Thank you. At any rate, for getting the Metro Council to pass a resolution for 100% renewable energy. And it's in 3 phases. The resolution states that the city will have clean electricity by 2030. The second goal is for the city operations to have clean renewable energy. That includes more than just electricity. It includes transportation and so forth. By 2035, and by 2040 for the whole metro area, businesses, residences, city, everything, to be clean, renewable energy. It's an important goal, but it's just words on a piece of paper unless we make it happen. So now we're about implementation of those goals. And so educating people is part of what we're about. One of the things that we have done most effectively, I think, is have people volunteer to address the Metro Council. We're still continuing that effort. And you can give a 3-minute talk. Anyone can volunteer. The Metro Council meets about every other week. You can get on their schedule by calling anytime after the previous council meeting. And we want to share with you, well, our emphasis right now is to encourage the Metro Council to include money in the current budget for installation of rooftop solar on city buildings. So that's, we have an example from Gary Watrous, who I think is here with us tonight, a little video clip of an address he did to just model for you what you might also do. So, Paul, will you line up that clip for us?
Hello, my name is Gary Watrous. I live in District 5. I'm an architect specializing in energy efficient design, and I'm a member of the Renewable Energy Alliance of Louisville. I want to thank you all for passing Metro Resolution 102. That resolution had various goals. The first goal was to have all Metro government buildings use only clean, renewable energy by the year 2030. And I'm a member of the Renewable Energy Alliance of Louisville. I want to thank you all for passing Metro Resolution 102. That resolution had various goals. The first goal was to have all Metro government buildings use only clean, renewable energy by the year 2030.
Hello,
Now, that's just 6 years from now.
my name is Gary.
The goal is ambitious, but it can be done.
Y'all let me start that again.
Yes.
I screwed it up.
You're fired, Paul.
Hello, my name is Gary Watrous. I live in District 5. I'm an architect specializing in energy efficient design, and I'm a member of the Renewable Energy Alliance of Louisville. I want to thank you all for passing Metro Resolution 102. That resolution had various goals. The first goal was to have all Metro government buildings use only clean, renewable energy by the year 2030. Now that's just 6 years from now. The goal is ambitious, but it can be done. Let's put our money where our resolution is. Please budget money to make this resolution a reality. Your energy manager, Zachary Taylor, is working on energy upgrades for Metro buildings, but energy upgrades will only go so far. To go the whole way toward clean, renewable electricity by 2030 for Metro buildings, you must start to budget money for solar electric now. Providing all Metro buildings with solar electricity would save $12 million a year for the next 30 to 50 years. You ask, how is this possible? Well, the panels pay for themselves in the first 10 years, after which Metro would get free electricity for the next 20 to 40 years. The money saved could be used for so many projects to benefit your constituents. As a good first step, please budget $1 million for solar electric for several Metro buildings in this upcoming budget. This could be regarded as seed money for convincing the EPA that we are serious about solar and deserve more federal funding for solar electric on Metro buildings. Time is short. Please take action to uphold your resolution. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins.
Keith Morgan.
And thank you, Gary, you're with us. That was, I think, a very effective speech to Metro Council. We encourage anyone to go ahead, take a chance and sign up and speak. If you need more information, you can contact Sam Avery at SamuelAvery@gmail.com. He'll fill you in some more details. I also want to take a moment just to give Sumeda Rao and her Office of Sustainability recognition now for the intense work that they have been doing in applying for some significant grants and moving us forward. She has a lot of new people on her team there at the Office of Sustainability, just jumping right in, pouring in the hours and effort, and helping us make a great deal of progress here in the city. I think we're going to see more and more things begin to happen. I'm very thankful. I won't go into all the details, but there's a, well, let's see. The EP applying for grants to the EPA for a climate pollution reduction grant, and then submitting a proposal for a regional Louisville, Metro, Indiana area priority climate action plan, and now applying, or just recently, for a multi-million-dollar grant for money to implement this priority climate action plan. I wish we had time to go into all of that more, but just know that good things are happening. People are working hard in the Office of Sustainability, and we coordinate with them as much as we can. I want to go ahead now and turn the program back to Elise to introduce our first speaker.
Well, this evening we have two people here to speak with us. The first one is Byron Gary. He will be speaking to us about where we are in terms of the fossil gas plants that LG&E are getting ready to put online, or plant without the S, hopefully. Byron is a program attorney for the Kentucky Resources Council. He studied political science and philosophy as an undergraduate at the University of Louisville. Then he went on to study law at the University of Louisville Brandeis School of Law. While there, he was the president of the Environmental Law and Land Use Society and the co-editor-in-chief of the Journal of Animal and Environmental Law. Before joining Kentucky Resources Council, he worked at the Louisville Public Defender. followed by the Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control District, where he was in charge of regulation, development, and the Louisville State Implementation Plan. He lives in the Highlands neighborhood of Louisville with his wife, son, 2 dogs, and a cat. Byron, we're so grateful that you were able to join us today and talk a little bit about fossil gas and how it's evolving here in Kentucky. We appreciate your expertise and your insights. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Elisa, and thank you all for inviting me. I have registered for a few, I think, of these events, but this is the first one I've actually been able to make. Something always seems to come up for one reason or another. But yeah, I'm Byron. I live in the Highlands, as Elisa said, just a couple blocks from St. Paul, actually. So thank you for all the services you guys provide. We are up in that area frequently and have made use of that little playground a number of times. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about the fossil gas plants, and I apologize if I am looking off at another screen here. I'm going to share some slides real quick, if that's all right. And can you all see the slideshow there?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right. So as Elisa mentioned, I work for the Kentucky Resources Council. Everybody is probably familiar with KRC, seeing who is here tonight, but just in case, KRC is a 40-year-old organization founded in the early 80s by Tom Fitzgerald. Our mission is to protect Kentucky's natural resources, including our communities and our people and our environment. We undertake litigation as necessary, as well as advocacy and education. And I'll talk a little bit at the end about the program that I was hired on originally to help out with, and the project that this whole event surrounds worked well into that and gave me an opportunity to not only involve myself in the litigation, but to put together this sort of case study, I guess, on navigating permitting around an electric generating unit. So the EGU, electric generating unit I'll talk about tonight, is Louisville Gas and Electric, Kentucky Utilities Mill Creek 5. It's Unit 5 at that facility, and it will be a new natural gas combined cycle plant as proposed. The picture on the right is Mill Creek as it is now. It makes it look a little worse than it is. That's actually mostly steam coming out of their stacks, not that all kinds of awful things don't come out of there. Mill Creek right now is a facility in the far southwestern tip of Jefferson County. It's right now 4 fossil coal plants that supply electricity for LG&E. What they have proposed to do is replace 2 of those coal units with a new natural gas combined cycle unit, about 600 megawatt unit. Those units that are being replaced are about 50 years old now, past their original useful life anyway. They probably should have been retired already. And LG&E proposes to replace 2 of those with 1 single new natural gas plant. I know you said there's time for questions at the end, but feel free to jump in, anybody, if you have any questions, if anything doesn't make sense. I feel like I'm just like talking at my screen right now, so I appreciate any interactivity you guys want to bring to it. Feel free to. For an EGU, there are generally 2 general permitting requirements that they have to meet. One is from the states, from the Public Service Commission. This is common throughout states, that they sometimes have a Public Utility Commission, a Public Service Commission, et cetera. But you have to get a certificate of public convenience and necessity before building an EGU from your state PSC or PUSC or PUC or whatever acronym you use. In Kentucky, it's the PSC. You have to get a CPCN. LG&E proposed to do so late in 2022. They submitted an application to the PSC. In the same case, they also proposed a new LG&E, actually KU-owned solar facility at their Brown facility, along with a battery energy storage system, or BESS, as well as to purchase power from 4 other solar facilities that were going to be built by merchant solar companies. So outside companies that come and build these and make contracts with utilities. And they also proposed to update their demand side management plan. And then in the pendency of the case, the legislature last year adopted Senate Bill 4, which, if you're not familiar with, it could be a whole hour topic on its own, but required approval from the PSC for the first time before a utility could shut down any fossil plants. So they had to roll in a request to close those fossil plants that they already were planning to close and get approval for that. What is not included in that case is rate recovery. So they have the approval from the CPCN, from the Public Service Commission now to build this, and the costs were a part of that determination, but they did not increase their rates as a part of that case. They will have to come back later in a separate rate case to incorporate those into the rate base. So that wasn't a direct part of this case. The other side of things is they have to get certain air permits. Because they're in Jefferson County, they have to get those from the Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control District. And I'll talk about each of those requirements in turn and where we are with each of them. Just really quickly, because I'm hoping this can serve as a resource if this issue comes up again, if there are further fossil plants proposed in and around Louisville or in Kentucky in general, so that folks know how this whole process works, and maybe we can organize a little more effectively even from the very beginning. To obtain a CPCN, a utility must demonstrate a need for such facilities and an absence of wasteful duplication. I'm not going to read all of the requirements for that. These are in the slides, which I'll gladly share later. But generally, they have to show that without building this new facility, they would not be able to provide adequate service. And they have to also show, as a part of the wasteful duplication demonstration, that this is the least cost alternative, that there isn't a better alternative that they could have pursued. And there was a lot of paperwork exchanged both ways and modeling and all kinds of things during that case. The folks that I represented hired our own experts to look back at LG&E's modeling and try and find a better least cost alternative. So sorry, I put some of these slides together last minute. I meant to add one there. Just the PSC case is over. They issued a decision in November of last year. When they issued the decision, they approved the new gas plants at Mill Creek and the closure of the 2 Mill Creek coal units. They did not approve an additional gas plants that KU had proposed to build at the Brown facility. They also did not approve the closure of 2 other coal units that they were going to replace with that gas unit. So it was a partial win in some regards, because we only got one of the 2 that they proposed rather than both of them. They also approved all of the solar and the new battery, which was good news. And they approved the demand side management plan with a slight modification, which we fought a lot on as well, because we thought they could be doing a lot more on demand side management to avoid the need for this new facility rather than building that. On the air side, the reasonably available control technology step is the first step that they must meet in Louisville. Because Louisville is what we call non-attainment for ozone, which is one of the main criteria pollutants under the Clean Air Act, Louisville implements RACT. And actually, this dates back to a previous non-attainment designation. We're in attainment for now, but we are in non-attainment for a new one. Anyway, every facility that is major for nitrogen oxide emissions or volatile organic compound emissions has to go through the RACT process. Which basically means they have to put on at least the bare minimum of controls for any new proposed facility. After that, the RACT procedure, just because it's a little bit different, requires, on the right here is a video, actually. Some of you were actually there. I think Wallace at least was there, and some other folks probably as well. The RACT requirements also requires a hearing before the Air Pollution Control Board. And this is different from a permit. Usually it can just put a permit out for public notice, and it flies under the radar. Nobody really picks those up and reviews them all. The RAC requirement at least requires a hearing before the Air Pollution Control Board. And rather than being approved by the district, it actually requires a vote of the board. And then they also have to submit the plan to EPA for approval. After they get that RACS plan, they also have to get a construction permit. This is a requirement of district regulations. It's a really long, dry engineering document. The proposed permit for Mill Creek is 180 some odd pages long. This is just the cover page of it. And they have to go through new source review. Because they're replacing 2 coal units with the gas units, they were able to, what we say in the air world, they netted out of major new source reviews. So they were essentially reducing emissions overall for most things at the facility. And that allowed them to not go through the most rigorous portions of new source review. But they still have to get this construction permits. That was proposed, has not been approved yet. They went through a 60-day comment period, and they did have a hearing on that. They weren't required to initially. We requested one, as well as some other folks, and they did have that hearing. And we are waiting for a decision on the construction permit right now. On the RACS plan, I think I forgot to mention, it was approved by the board. It has been submitted to EPA at this point, but they have not acted on it yet. So we're waiting for EPA approval on that one. All major facilities also have to have a Title V permit, which covers not just the gas unit in this case, or not just whatever they were applying for a construction permit for, but all units at their facility. So eventually that permit for the gas unit will have to be rolled into their larger Title V permit. And that's something that will have to happen later down the line as well. And that's important because it's another chance to review it, another chance potentially to comment if APCD issues it for public comment, and a chance for EPA to review it. They don't typically review construction permits, but they'll have to review the Title V permit.
Byron?
Yes.
I'm sorry I missed this. You probably said it and I missed it.
I-
but
I may not have.
I'm trying to figure out who approves these permits. So for example, the construction permit, is that also APCD, or who is that?
Yes, I'm sorry. So the RACS plan is approved by the board. The district drafts it and then submits it to the board for approval, and then we'll submit it to EPA. All the air permits are approved by the Air Pollution Control District itself. They'll have their air pollution control officer, who is an engineer at the district, sign off on it if they approve it, assuming they approve it.
And construction?
Same for the construction permit. Those are both from both air permits from the Air Pollution Control District.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now I'm clear. I appreciate it.
I apologize. It's a really labyrinthian process, and I sort of forget how much I am embedded in it sometimes and skip over some things that I just sort of take for granted since I've been doing this for a decade or so now.
Right. I appreciate your clarification.
Oh, no, I appreciate the question. And just really quickly for background, speaking of labyrinthian processes, I was hired on at Kentucky Resources Council about a year ago to help with a new project that we are now naming the Kentucky Environmental Accountability Project. The problem that was envisioned by our director, Ashley Wilms, before I was even hired, was that pollution in Kentucky is a serious problem, but there is not really a public engagement aspect. Yes, all these permits are required to be issued for public notice, but they just go under the radar, are unevaluated by pretty much anyone. And anyone who does try to pick up one probably is rightfully just daunted away from thinking they could ever effectively comment on it. Like I mentioned, the construction permit for Mill Creek is 182 or 3 pages long engineering documents. There's no real narrative. It's just a series of 1A, 1B, and it's really, really difficult to comment on, even for myself. So this project was started. I was hired on along with another attorney to try to find ways to break down some of those barriers to public engagement and increase public engagement in the environmental permitting process. It's a slow process to break down. We were hired on after this construction application occurred, and evaluating this construction permit along with a number of other permits and applications has really contributed to my own understanding of the permitting side of things and how to effectively comment. And we're working on putting together some modules and explainers and things like that, that in the coming year or two, we will slowly be rolling out and trying to make those resources available so that when these sort of issues come up, folks have a resource they can turn to and actually understand what some of these requirements mean and where you can actually start to poke holes in some of them. So in this case, that involved my work in a couple of ways. I was the attorney for KRC along with Fitz before the Public Service Commission. We represent a group come to be known as the Joint Interveners. It includes Kentuckians for the Commonwealth, Metropolitan Housing Coalition, Mountain Association, in this case, Kentucky Solar Energy Society. In other cases has involved Appalachian Citizens Law Center and others. I'm forgetting at least one in there, I think. But we, along with Earth Justice, have been able to bring considerable resources to bear. Fortunately for us, they have great expertise and have allowed us to hire some really great experts who take a look at these things. I really think that it was our contribution, at least in large part, that contributed to us getting only one of these gas plants rather than two. There are trade-offs to be considered in this case in particular, because they now have to keep running two coal plants longer because that other gas plant wasn't approved. The thing is, coal is on its way out anyway. I think everybody, even LG&E and KU, acknowledge this. I think Joe Kraft is probably the only person in Kentucky who, and his legislatures, who don't acknowledge that coal is on its way out. And replacing it with gas just locks us in longer term to more fossil fuels. We're going to end up now with a plant at Mill Creek that has a lifespan of around 40 plus years. If they run it like they have been coal units, they will run it until it is literally falling apart, and they need to add on considerable controls to deal with the ever increasing requirements of EPA regulations and others that we know are coming. So it is, as you all know, a false solution. We also worked with a group called Kentuckians for Energy Democracy on increasing citizen engagements. They did a fantastic job on driving public comments in a lot of this, along with other groups. On the air permitting side, we did submit our own comments. We retained an engineer actually to review it as well. I drafted comments for KRC, and he drafted a technical appendix to those that explains some of the deficiencies in the application. I won't go into all of those, but the KRC comments and engineering evaluation is highlighted there. You can view it on our webpage. But the main problems, as you all know, this essentially makes meeting some of those renewable energy goals in the resolution almost impossible. If we've got a 40-year gas plant going in Jefferson County, we can't be zero emissions by 2040. We also saw problems with the application itself. We believe it was incomplete, and there are environmental justice considerations, of course, as well. Aside from the fact that this is being built in a poorer part of Jefferson County, the climate impacts will disproportionately affect the poorest, the most disadvantaged, the communities of color, et cetera. I also was on a number of different calls with K4ED and Kentuckians for the Commonwealth and others, trying to distill this 180-page document down to some points that would be easier to make. Commenting on an air permit is just incredibly difficult. It's a very technical thing. If it meets the requirements of the Clean Air Act, APCD doesn't have a lot of discretion. They can't just disapprove it because they don't like it. And as was mentioned earlier, the renewable energy resolution is non-binding. It can't override the Clean Air Act when it comes to APCD's decision making. They, in our comments on that relating to the RACT plan, acknowledged the renewables resolution, but said basically it's non-binding. It can't, we can't deny a permit or a RACT plan because of the renewables resolution. So that's where we are right now. We're waiting for the decision on the construction permits, and we're waiting on EPA's decision on the RACT plan. We will subsequently to the construction permit if it does get approved, assuming it does get approved by APCD, awaits EPA review of the Title V permit down the line. Oh, I had a slide explaining that. So that's where we are. Thank you again so much. And I'll stick around till the end if there are any questions, or feel free to speak up whenever.
Yeah,
Roger, you need to say something right now?
well, I just wanted to ask a question. I think it was sort of, I don't know if it ties into the RAC or not, but I was wondering, so on the, I know Cane Run, they're doing the carbon capture system on the Cane Run gas plant. And I didn't know if that also captured nitrous oxide and the other gases that, you know, so is that built in? And so then are they going to carry that, whatever it is, are they going to carry that forward to the Mill Creek? Is it going to have the carbon capture? And is it capable of capturing the nitrous oxide and, and everything else that goes with it?
I know we're running over time, so I don't want to take up too much time. The brief answer is no and kind of. The Cane Run project is a demonstration project. It's not going to put a huge dent in Cane Run's carbon. But CCS, carbon capture and sequestration, doesn't capture other pollutants. It actually can cause more pollution potentially. It's really a false solution. It requires power itself to run. It can, I have seen, I mean, it's not well proven yet, so we don't have a whole lot of them to go by, but it can cause what they call a parasitic load. You know, the power plant has to power itself as well as its own control equipment, and it can eat up as much as, the estimates I've seen, 30% of the power being put out by the facility just to run the CCS for the facility. Cane Run doesn't have NOx controls on its units. LG&E did propose selective catalytic reduction, which is a separate control on the new Mill Creek unit, which would knock out a good bit of the NOx. For conventional pollutants other than carbon, this is a good thing for Louisville. I don't like calling what is locking us into climate change for another 40 years a good thing, but for conventional pollutants, NOx, VOC, other than VOCs, NOx, SO2, all those other pollutants, it's a net benefit.
Thank you very much, Byron,
Okay.
for being with us
Thank you, Byron.
tonight, and also for the work that you have done and are continuing to do. We need you, and we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you all.
I'll just add one quick comment. This carbon capture, my line is, the carbon has already been captured and sequestered in the coal and in the gas. All we have to do is just leave it, you know. We don't have to recapture it, do something with it. So at any rate, it's time for us to move on, and I'm really happy to have with us Dave Brown Kinloch. And I first heard of him, I guess, through Fitz. We've been talking about Fitz tonight. And Fitz had made a comment that's always stuck with me, that Kentucky has more miles of inland waterways than any state in the contiguous US. And so why not take advantage of it with hydro, and smart hydro, I'll say. And David is really good at that. His background, just to give you some clues, he received 2 bachelor degrees, one in mechanical engineering and one in philosophy, and 2 master's degrees in mechanical engineering and in science, technology, and values from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And after college, he served for a couple of years as a volunteer with the Jesuit, excuse me, not Jewish, Jesuit volunteer corps in Brooklyn and in Philadelphia, and then came back to Kentucky, for which I'm very grateful, and I think we all are, to work on developing renewable energy. He is not only really into the small hydro, but his own living situation, his house is very impressive with what he's done to create an energy efficient situation that way. So I'm sure you could talk for hours, but you don't have hours today, but we're glad to have you with us for a little while. Thank you. And over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate it. And I prepared a slideshow for you. So let me share the screen if we can here. Okay. There. I hope you all can see that. So yes, I'm Dave Brown Kinloch, and I'm president of Appalachian Hydro Associates. And as Margaret mentioned, Kentucky has more miles of streams than any other state in the country except for Alaska. So one of the reasons I came back to Kentucky, and I first came back was working in solar, but then I realized that this is an incredible resource that Kentucky has as far as water power potential. So real quickly, just going through it, looking at it from a national standpoint, renewable electricity in last year in 2023 exceeded 21%. And that's more renewables than coal electricity or nuclear. You see there at the bottom, wind was about half of it at 10%. Hydro was 5.7%, and solar is coming on at 3.9%. Hydro used to be much higher, but there have been some droughts in the southwest part of the country that's really knocked back hydro production. But just to encourage you a little bit, this is a good news presentation. These are the world leaders in renewables as far as renewable electricity. Iceland and Paraguay are at 100% renewable, Costa Rica 99%, Norway almost the same, almost 100%, and then Austria and Brazil are a majority, and then Denmark at the bottom. Why I wanted to show you this to you is that all the ones at the top, all of them but Denmark, almost all of their renewables come from hydropower. So looking at the sources of electricity in 2023, natural gas was the largest source in the United States. Coal was substantially less. If I'd have shown you this slide, 15 years ago, coal would have been at the top of the list. Nuclear, it progressively goes down and down, but the renewables are coming on strong with 21%, and again, most of it or half of it's from wind, and then solar and hydro make up most of the rest. Also biomass and geothermal. But let's get to hydropower, because that's what I have concentrated on for the last 40 years. Just real basic primer on how hydropower works. The sun beats down on the ocean. Most of the globe is covered by ocean. Creates clouds. Those clouds come up over the land, and it rains or snows. That water comes down, and where you see this 5 here, that's where we put the hydroelectric plant. As the water's rushing back to the ocean, we try to capture some of that energy of the water moving downhill. So here's a basic scheme of what a hydroelectric plant is. A conventional hydro plant has 2 levels of water separated by an impoundment, a dam, And that differential creates a water pressure, and that water pressure comes down through here, goes through a turbine, and then out into the lower pool. And the significance of what you see here is this is basically one moving part. You've got a propeller here, and you've got the generator rotor here. So you've got one moving part. And that's why they call these forever plants. Most of the hydroelectric plants ever built in the United States are still operational. There was a recent study by the Department of Energy of all the power plants of any kind in the United States that were built before 1930, and 99% of them are hydroelectric. In fact, our company has one of those in that 99%. And we'll get to that in a second. But real quickly, 26% of the renewable electricity in the United States comes from hydropower. Worldwide, 15% of all the electricity generated in the world is from hydroelectric. In the United States, it's about 5.7%. But in Canada, over 60% of their electricity comes from hydropower, and there are a number of provinces that are 100% hydro. In the United States, we have about 2,600 hydroelectric plants, but only 3% of the dams in the United States, there are about 75,000 dams, only 3% of them have hydropower. In Kentucky, I've estimated that we could get another 887 megawatts from 39 dams in Kentucky that do not have, that are there for other reasons, but do not have hydropower. So there's basically four sizes of hydropower. There's mini hydro that would make enough electricity maybe for one home. My business partner, Bob Fairchild, has one for his house. Then there's mini hydro, which is sized basically for a small business. The next size up is what's called small hydro, and that's making enough electricity for anywhere between 100 and 5,000 homes. That's usually too small for utilities to fool with, but companies like ours, that's our sweet spot. And then the large hydro is what the utilities and the government usually does, those large projects. They're too big for companies like ours. So this is just a drawing of that little one that you'd put on your house. I've got a propeller in the other room. They're only about 6 inches in diameter. But you go all the way from that to the other extreme, which is something like Hoover Dam, where it's just a monstrous installation. But what we work on, my company, is something in the middle. We work in mini hydro and small hydro. This is the Weisenberger Mill in Midway, Kentucky, not too far from Lexington. This was the site of the first qualifying facility, independent power production in Kentucky, that my company put in back in the 1980s. And Kentucky, we had to take a case at the Public Service Commission, and KU said that hell would freeze over before one small power producer came on their system. And I haven't been to hell since 1989, but I understand it's a mighty cold place, according to KU. So this is a picture of the size turbine. That's my partner, Bob, working on a turbine. This is a 100 kilowatt turbine, enough electricity for about 100 homes. We rebuilt this turbine that was built in the 1920s and put it back into service. Here's a picture of it on a truck. This went to a bed and breakfast in Southeast Ohio. The two red ones at the back are the ones we actually rebuilt and put into service. The two in the front are sort of the full units that we made of all the leftover parts. We bought a bunch of turbines and put together the parts. Those are the leftovers that we have for tourists to look at. So we're stepping up from that to what that was mini hydro. Now we're up to small hydro. This is the Mother Ann Lee Hydroelectric Station at Lock 7 on the Kentucky River. This was originally owned by Kentucky Utilities, and 20 years ago, we purchased it from them. It was in really bad shape. It was built in 1927, and it has 3 turbine generators that are 2.2 megawatts of power. That's, on average, this will make enough electricity for about 1,400 homes. We began the renovation work in 2006. And I have here that all 3 turbines are currently operational. They have been, but we actually have generator 3 down right now. We're rewinding it and putting it together for its next 100 years. This is one of only 150 projects in the United States certified by the Low Impact Hydropower Institute, which is a group of environmental groups that had in the past been critical of hydro, but decided that there's some hydro that is definitely advantageous. And so they certify projects. And the renewable energy credits we make, we sell a portion of them to Center College, and the rest of them we sell on the open market. So this is a picture of them building this plant in 1927. This is in September of 1927. The interesting thing to me about this is over here across the river, they built their own sawmill to make their own boards. And then they made the concrete there on site. This is what it looked like when they were just about finished up in December. And this is what it looked like when we bought it. This is, as you can see, everything is rusty and nasty. It was in very bad shape. Not much work had been done on it. Here's the roof. Those are stalactites of calcium being leached out of the concrete. So this is inside a generator. The bottom part here is the stator, which stays still. 2,400 volts. Up here are the rotor that rotates. Those are electromagnets. That all has to be really clean, or else you can have electrical shorts. It's not really clean at all when we bought it. This is what it looks like after we reconditioned it. This is what generator number 1 looked like when we bought it. And here's what it looks like today. Okay, we've got 3 generators. I said to Bob, what color are we going to paint them? And he said, no school colors, no red and no blue. So we painted them Mardi Gras colors. And all of the plates at the bottom here were taken off, sandblasted and primed, and taken to my daughter's 4th grade elementary school at Bloom Elementary. And the kids painted fish on there. So we have a kids art gallery in the powerhouse. My daughter's now out of college, so it's been a little while. Other things that are going on in the region, just to let you know about. I mean, American Municipal Power has put in 5 new large hydro plants on the Ohio River, making significant amount of new power. The first 3 you see there, the biggest ones, those are all on the Ohio right bordering Kentucky. That's utility scale. We're not at that scale. But what we did is we moved on from that Lock 7 plant to the Lock 12 plant. And we decided to try to do some innovative things to try to make small hydro cheaper for everybody in the United States. So we tried to put in variable speed generators. It's what they use in wind plants, but it's never been done before in the United States at conventional hydro plants. We put in submersible turbine generators. No matter how big the floods are, and the floods could be 30 to 40 feet, so they're always underwater. It doesn't matter. We built the powerhouse in the abandoned lock chamber, so we didn't have to build a cofferdam. Saved 1/3 of the cost of the project. We use innovative coatings. And then one of the big things here is we, instead of using a bank or an investor that wants a real quick profit, we went and got as a financial partner Berea College. It's the greatest move we could have made. They're looking for a long-term investment to make money for their students down the road. So this is what it looked like. This is what the lock chamber looked like. We put a little cofferdam at the end, and then we put in big pumps and dewatered it. Then we started building in the base of the dewatered lock chamber. There they are, putting the concrete up that brings the water up to the turbines. This is looking at it from the other side. The turbine generators sit on these are called draft tubes, where the water exits the power plant. This is a picture. These are the turbine generators, 3 of them sitting here. The turbine is in the bottom part. The generator is in the top part. And then we have a mobile gantry crane that lifts them up and drops them down in the holes. And then, of course, those are covered up with covers. So that's what it looks like when we were about to put those turbine generators in. You see 4 of them sitting out there. 1 of them has already been installed. Then we've got a big trash rack or a bar screen in the front that keeps the debris out of the turbines. And that's what it looks like today. I checked it just before our meeting tonight, and all 5 units are running. Right now, we're putting out enough electricity for about 1,400 megawatt hours. Those turbines you saw are down in underneath these hatches here. They're totally in underwater. There's no noise. You don't even know they're there. So we took the innovations from there. We went to Lock 14. Here it's a little bit bigger. We're up to 3 megawatts. It's located in Lee County near Beattyville. Again, Berea College is our partner. This is under construction now. It's going to be completed in this calendar year. And we have done a lot of innovations to make this an extremely low maintenance plant. Some of the innovations is we used a special turbine generator I'm going to show you. It will put out 30% more power than we're getting at Lock 12. It's extremely simplified design. Our mantra from now on is simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. We use a European concept, which they've just built a couple of them in Europe. And we use a rubber dam for the top section of the plant to be able to flush the debris out. I'll show you that to you in a minute. We're not using the variable speed drives. Again, trying to simplify it. But here's a big one. We're using 40% less concrete than we did at Lock 12. So we're getting 30% more power out, 40% less concrete. We eliminated a lot of the pit walls. And then we have a couple other innovations which are more technical. This is what the Voith Stream Diver looks like. This is all, will be all underwater. The water comes in through here and goes straight through and out the back end. It's horizontal as opposed to vertical. And it's so simple. You have a turbine blade out here. You have a generator here that's water cooled and water lubricated. So there are no seals or anything. So there's no maintenance other than replacing the bearings every 15 years. There's no hydraulic fluid. There is no oil. It is completely environmentally friendly. And this is a drawing of what this looks like. The blue line at the top is our upper pool. Blue line here is our lower pool. The water comes in here. It drops down through our horizontal trash rack and goes straight out. Very simple. When we want to clean any debris that's floating up here, we have a rubber dam, which is an inflatable dam. We just let the air out of it. Everything gets washed downstream, and then we put the air back in it. So this is our construction out there. Again, this is the dewatered lock chamber before we cleaned it out. This is them starting to pour concrete, bringing the powerhouse up. That's what it looks like when we had the draft tubes in place. This is what it looks like when we're getting ready to do the last pour. We got to put a lot of rebar in. There are the guys installing all the rebar. We did our next to last pour on Monday. Next Monday, we'll do our final cap on this. And again, this is our control building, which is up on the shore, up above floods, up above the 500-year floods. And that's Berea College is our sponsor, again, for this project. So we got a few minutes left. I wanted to tell you quickly about our new projects, which are incredibly exciting. Our new project at Lock 12 came online in 2021. The one at Lock 14 will be 2024 this year. Then we've got 4 new projects for 26, 27, 29, and 31. And you see after it, I've got here PACE. This is exciting because, and here's where they'll be. We've got our original Lock 7 plant, and then we'll be starting at Lock 9 through 14. All of these are abandoned lock chambers, abandoned navigational locks that haven't been used since 1992. So we're repurposing them. The dams have to be there for water supply. We're just getting a second use out of these old dams. But here's what I wanted to talk to you about. This is a new program called PACE. It's a part of the Inflation Reduction Act. And I can't say we have the money, but we are this close. We are so close. We've already gotten our number from the Department of Agriculture for that they give loans to. So we're waiting for a final approval to come out from their loan committee. So that approval should be in the next 2 weeks. But just real quickly, we get a low interest rate, and the amazing thing is part of the loan is forgivable. And this covers 75% of the cost of the project. The other 25% we fund with the sale of investment tax credits. This is $1 billion program, okay? And it was 12 times oversubscribed. And if you look down here, we're getting 73 million out of the $1 billion. So we are one of the very favored programs by the Department of Agriculture. So we have tremendous amount of money that will be coming to the Commonwealth of Kentucky with these 4 new projects. We got our initial letter of interest. We were the second project in the country to get that. There are only 2 hydro projects approved in the country. All the rest, or almost all the rest, are solar, a few wind projects. We got our full applications in. Just to give you an idea, our letter of interest that we submitted was about 1,000 pages long for each of these projects. Our full applications were about 3,000 pages long. So this is, it takes a lot of work to get this, but we will get about $73 million. I have to tell you, it's not yet approved. I'm not allowed to say it's approved, but we're very, very close. And so it will fund our newest projects. At Lock 11 will be the next one, then Lock 13, Lock 10, and Lock 9. These projects will be carbon copies, not carbon. We don't want to say carbon, do we? These will be hydro copies of the project we're putting in at Lock 14. So with that, that's the end of my presentation. If you've got any questions.
Well, we're going to have question and answer right now. But Dave, I want to say thank you so much for your presentation. I imagine you've been told before you're doing some damn good work.
That's right. And every time we do another project, they say it's just another damn project.
Well, I think one of my concerns is that people don't know what's going on, what's being done, and what can be done. And I'm thankful for you doing so much right here in Kentucky. So I'm going to turn it over to Elisa now for our question and answer time. I'm sure people will have things they want to know more about.
Thank you, Margaret. I am happy for you all to begin the questioning, or if no one has anything right this minute, I have my own questions to ask both speakers, but is there anyone who would like to lead off with a question? You can just raise your hand if you have one. Otherwise, I will start it off, and you all can follow on.
Hey, this is Sumeta. I can't figure out how to raise my hand, and sorry I'm not on camera today, but can I go?
That's fine. You may go, Sumeta.
All right, thank you. Yeah, well, firstly, thank you to both speakers. This was incredibly fascinating, and thank you to Real for finding these amazing speakers every time. My question for David is, so looking at Louisville's specific regulatory environment, is this something that you've considered, and what would be the process to do something like this? Is there, the fact that these are the mini and small, do they kind of avoid some kind of threshold where we have to avoid, or where it's simplified, or is it still as complicated? And then also, can you talk about the timeline for how long it takes to get one of these projects from concept to fully built out and operational?
Well, let me start with your last question first. The project you saw that we were building right now, currently, it took us 16 years to get through the whole process before we could begin construction. To get the FERC license alone was 7.5 years and a couple years of post-licensing work. And these are for non-controversial projects. No one had any objection to them. We are now working with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission where we get the license on a new sort of experimental way to get a license that we think we can reduce it down to 2 years. And we've been meeting with them, and part of the PACE program is we've got to get we already have a license for Lock 11 and for Lock 13, but Lock 10 and 9 need to be licensed. And we're going to work with FERC on this innovative new process and hopefully become a model for the nation of how quickly it can be licensed. And the other innovations out at our new plants, we'd like to tell people that Kentucky's last in a lot of things, but when it comes to small hydro, we're leading the nation. But to your question of what we can do here in Louisville, Jefferson County, one of the problems with hydro is it's not like solar. You just can't put it anywhere. We have to go, we don't want to build any new dams. In fact, I've worked taking some dams out that aren't needed. But so we have to go where there's a dam that needs to be there for something else. And we have one of those in Louisville. It's the Falls of the Ohio. LG&E has a 100 megawatt plant down at the Falls of the Ohio, built in 1928. It was originally 80 megawatts. They've done a lot of renovation work. It's now 100 megawatts. But as long as I've been in this business for 40 years, and I used to be an expert witness at the Public Service Commission, I have pushed LG&E. They've got 2 empty bays down at the Falls of the Ohio. They have sufficient water to put in 2 more turbines, and they just won't do it. I have talked to a lot of people with a lot of ideas, but if you want to get 20 megawatts more of hydro here in Louisville, that's one thing we can do, is try to push LG&E into using those 2 empty bays that they have down there and adding. In fact, I know some ways they can do it really cheap compared to what they do now. But there's just no interest down there. I have pushed them and pushed them and pushed them. So maybe if the public pushed them, maybe then LG&E would consider putting in 2 more units.
Hey, Byron, do you have a question for David?
Yeah, actually, I've got plenty. I'll step back if any of your members do, but if nobody else does, I've got a question or 2 as well.
Okay, well, unless somebody else raises your hand, we're going to go with the ones who do. So Byron, why don't you ask your questions, and then I've got a couple of questions for David as well, and a couple for you. So go
Absolutely.
ahead.
And I just heads up, Audrey, I see your question in the chat, but it won't let me reply to you directly. So once I ask my question, I'll get to Audrey's question and me too. But I had a question for David that the previous one reminded me of. The FERC permitting process, of course, is long and tedious. Are these hydro projects? So you've mentioned, Berea is your sponsor on one. Do you have direct off takers? Are these distribution level, or do you have to get into the transmission queue? And if so, has that PJM backup in the transmission queue held you up? Like, I know a lot of renewable energy projects have trouble with that.
Yeah, here's the situation. Our projects are small enough. We're either the first 2 we're feeding into Jackson Energy Cooperative in Eastern Kentucky. We're selling directly to them. But East Kentucky Power took a case at the Public Service Commission to stop us from selling directly any new plants. So we're selling all of our power from the 4 new projects. We'll be selling directly to East Kentucky Power. But because they're small enough, almost all the power is being used behind the meter at the substation by the local rural electric cooperatives. And the way we have it set up, because of the rate structures, we're going to actually sell our power and at a rate that the local co-ops are going to get their power like at 11% below the cost that they're buying wholesale. In fact, the latest calculation may be as high as 17% below wholesale cost. Right now, the 2 projects we've got, or the 3 projects we have, we're selling that power to 5 to 6% below the wholesale cost to the rural electric cooperatives. So everybody's winning. It's a win-win. So, but the problem is that when we're very lightly loaded on the co-op, and we're still producing a lot of power. You know, Sunday morning at 3 a.m. in April, when the temperature, nobody's using heating or cooling, we will make a little trickle of power that'll go up on the transmission line. And we can't get into the queue with PJM right now. We have to wait for 2 years to just put in an application. So when we come online with Lock 14, we will probably have to just at those times reduce the power we're putting out from the plant and basically waste a lot of energy just because of the regulation.
And yet our legislature doesn't think hydro is dispatchable.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was going to say one thing I didn't mention, I want to mention, but this is usually a big question with environmental groups. They say, what about the impact on fish? That is a concern, like in the Pacific Northwest, on the Atlantic coast. Pacific Northwest is mainly salmon. East Coast, it's American shad. The deal is, in Kentucky, our rivers do not have migratory fish. So we don't have fish migration issues that have to be dealt with. Another good reason that we should be doing hydro in Kentucky as opposed to other places. And just real quickly, 95% of any environmental damage is done by putting the dam in. If the dam is already there, it's got to be used for something else. We've got 5% of potential damage. If it's designed right, we can mitigate all of that. For example, pulling in fish. You have to keep your inlet speeds under 2 feet per second. Ours are under 1 foot per second. So we're doing everything. We've got axial flow turbines. So if a fish does happen to get through, we've got tight bar screens. So only the very smallest fish can get through. If they do get through, they should go straight through the turbines because of the design of the turbine. So we've taken all that into consideration. And that's why it's so easy to get it permitted with Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, because we've done those design things to make them an absolute minimum impact on the environment.
Sumeda has another question, but Byron, I wanted to ask a quick question to you. And that is, when you were talking about the Metro Council resolution, you said that the APCD did not have to pay attention to it or make decisions on it because it was just a resolution and not law. Let's say it became law, then what? Could you deny the permit?
That's a really tough question I have grappled with a little bit. So the way the resolution is worded right now, right, is we have renewable or zero carbon targets by 2040. How we reach that is not specifically laid out, so it would require some regulation. For most of the state of Kentucky, the Division of Air Quality, which does permitting outside of Louisville, is prohibited from being more stringent than EPA. So they cannot require, say, carbon goals beyond what EPA does in their air permits. LMAPCD is not limited in that way. We can be more stringent in Louisville than the Clean Air Act or the rest of the state, and we are when it comes to like air toxics. We have a specific strategic toxic air reduction program in Louisville, the STAR program, that really helped in Rubbertown. But how that is implemented is tough to envision. I mean, climate change is such a some of these traditional pollutants like ozone, it's tough to regulate just within a city limit. You know, even if Louisville shut down all its ozone sources in Louisville itself, we'd still get it wafting in across the border. So it really requires a broader approach than just a Louisville resolution. So I have trouble envisioning how a Louisville resolution could be enforceable in our air permitting. The other factor, of course, is the war on Louisville is real, and if we were to prohibit the building of a new LG&E facility through a Louisville Metro resolution, there's a fair chance that the legislature would just get rid of the APCD, which they have the power to do too.
Right. I thought, I just wanted to ask, I did not ask with a whole lot of hope, but I did
It's
wanna
possible,
ask.
it would be difficult, and the pushback would be tremendous. It's
Yeah.
really going to require a much broader approach.
We really need federal targets,
Yes.
probably.
Or at
Yeah.
least state, if we had renewable targets as a state, that would be very important as well. Like, states like California and New York, et cetera, have their renewable portfolio standards. If we had an RPS in Kentucky, that would make a big difference, but we don't.
Sumeda, you had a question, again, another one.
Yeah, quick question for both. So for Byron, I should know this, but do we still have coal at Cane Run and Patty Run, or are those both natural gas at this point?
No, so Cane Run replaced their coal with their gas unit. They just have one gas unit now. Patty's Run does not have any coal anymore. They have, I think, 2 peaker units left, but part of that case that I sort of glossed over is LG&E also applied to close a number of their gas peaker units, both at Patty's Run and one other facility. So the PSC actually granted them permission to shut down even those peaker gas units, which they will do as soon as they break down. Basically, they're not going to repair them anymore. So the only coal left in Jefferson County are the 2 units at Mill Creek.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
4 units now, 2 units
Yeah.
if the gas replaces the other 2.
Thank you. And then for David, quick follow-up question was, so per your calculations, the 20 megawatts that you said could go on the Ohio River, what do you think the approximate cost of that would be?
I'd have to calculate, but figure that out. But the thing to know is that they can get significant tax credits, investment tax credits, 30 to 40% of the cost can be covered by investment tax credits. So, all I can say is if it was affordable for American Electric Power to put in those other plants recently on the Ohio River, where what's called the differential is a lot less than what they have at the Falls of Ohio, then it's got to be economical at the Falls of Ohio. I would have to do the calculations for you, but it's got to be.
Follow
Yeah,
up, would you be willing to testify to that before the Public Service Commission once again? Because we could use you.
Absolutely. I don't know if you know, 15 years I used to testify for the Attorney General at the Public Service Commission and for FITS. And for the other interveners, I was an expert witness for those folks. But I had to stop doing that on behalf of the public when I became an electric producer because of a conflict of interest. Because if rates go up and I'm based on wholesale rates, I couldn't do it. Now, I could testify with respect to generation planning cases because there's no conflict there, but not rate cases.
David, I had another question for you about the Louisville Dam. Is that owned by LG&E or who owns that?
No, that's owned by the Corps of Engineers.
Well, if it's owned by the Corps of Engineers, why does LG&E have to do it? Here's my suggestion. Why can't you guys do it and get the QF qualification and then do a power purchase agreement to the city of Louisville?
Because LG&E has a FERC hydropower license for the facility, so they have the rights for their 80 megawatt plant, and FERC would allow them to expand their plant. Well, they'd have to file amendments, But they would not issue a second permit for an existing dam that there's already a licensee. Oh, believe me, we've thought about that. We have thought
mean,
about that, but
I mean, it seemed like it might work to me. The more I hear, the more I fear we're just gonna have to go around them. And so that's why I was trying to think of ways to go around them to get the hydro in and then sell it directly to the city.
well, here's the one thing I would say is when I say I've pushed them for years and years, this is when they didn't want to do any renewables. Okay, this was before they had commercials on TV saying about how they've had a renewable plant for almost 100 years, which is that plant. So the climate may be different now that they might be able to listen. I really the licensing thing is a tough nut to crack as far as
Fair enough.
getting FERC to issue a second license for an existing plant, existing dam. That'd be a tough nut to crack.
Well, I was even thinking of projects out in the state. If you could get it on the transmission lines, then you could just sell it directly to the city as well. Because you said something about, didn't you say something about one of your projects was being sold to Ohio?
Oh, that is a project in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
I mean-
That makes sense. I thought you were in Kentucky selling your power to Ohio, and I was like, cool, way to go, QF.
We could.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, because of the open access tariffs, we could sell, in fact, we could get more money if we sold our power. We're hooked up to the East Coast. We could sell power into New Jersey, for example, and we could get more
PJM and all
money.
that. Yeah.
But the reason we don't, well, there's a couple reasons. One is we want to have renewable energy here in Kentucky. But the second thing is with this PACE money, it's Department of Agriculture, which loans money to rural electric cooperatives. So we have to sell our power to a rural electric cooperative so we meet their community benefits plan.
That makes a lot of sense. I will be, if I write you an email and think of another workaround, I'm sure you've already thought of it, but I thought I would just ask you.
Don't hesitate to contact me.
Thank you. Folks, it is 25 minutes after 8. I really appreciate this conversation. I hope you all appreciate it as well. It is nice to know that we are not alone in our hopes for our state, that we can move toward more sustainable energy, whether that be hydro energy or non-fossil fuel options. The one thing that has happened recently that I know about is that the interconnection rules have changed a little bit, and that so Sumeda, if we have power plants that are not functioning, it is easy to place a solar array on their property. That's a new interconnection effort that is trying to reduce the queues for renewable energy. So just so everyone knows about that, if we've got a power plant that's not functioning and the coal plants go down, then we can look at solar and other places on those pieces of land. John Gage is here. He is here to remind us of what a privilege it is to care about our planet, to be together and know other people that care deeply about our planet. John, can you sing us out? I appreciate everybody coming, and I hope you will join us next time for our Real Good News event. Thanks to everyone. Have a peaceful evening. You're on, John.
Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful evening, everybody. It's a great learning session, and I have a lot of questions. But tonight I just want to share this song that has come to my attention, written by Iris Dement. It's the title song from her latest recording that's released called Working on a World. And when I think of us working on a world, I think of you all. And the way you're not just talking about it and having endless meetings, actually doing things. And so I sing this song for all of you all. Iris Dement, Working on a World. When I know, by the way, this guitar sounds lousy. I apologize. I'm not an engineer, and my son is somewhere on the western part of the United States on a honeymoon trip with his. They're not honeymoon. They've been married 21 years, but anyway, I don't have my regular consultant crew together, so we'll bear with it, and I'll do the best I can. I think if I just sing softer, it'll be better. Got so down in trouble, I nearly lost my head. I started waking every morning, filled with sadness, fear, and dread. The world I took for granted was crashing to the ground. And I realized I might not live long enough to ever see it turn around. But then I got to thinking about the ones who came before and all the sacrifices that they made to open up so many doors. Doors I got to walk through on streets paved for me by people who were working on a world they never got to see. Working on a world I may never see. Joining forces with the warriors of love who came before and will follow you and me. I get up in the morning knowing I'm privileged just to be working on a world I may never see. I don't have all the answers to the troubles of the day, but neither did all our ancestors, and they persevered anyway. When I see a little baby reaching out its arms to me, I remember why I'm working on a world I may never see. Working on a world I may never see. I'm joining forces with the world. Wait, I'm going to change that one. Just one word, change it. Working on a world we may never see. We're joining forces with the warriors of love who came before and will follow you and me. We wake up in the morning knowing we're privileged just to be working on a world we may never see. Working on a world we may never see. Bless you. I love you.
Thanks, John, for your encouragement. We love it. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Hey.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.